When little Miguel Rivera finds out that he's related to Ernesto de la Cruz, his musical hero, he'll stop at nothing to make his musical dreams come true. Welcome to Turtle Limicast Spoilers Review for Coco. Coco is a really fun, really heartwarming children's film, family film, I should say. It's for the whole family. It's akin to the Toy Stories, the Inside Outs. It's a very touchy feely type of story that'll it'll actually make you feel good coming away with the message that's in it. True to form for Pixar. This it actually deals with pretty heavy subject matter, and not in the terms of death. I mean that's there, and that's definitely heavy for a family film that little kids are gonna see. But the real heaviness I find with this is the very common dilemma of family and uh, being true to your family and being true to yourself and trying to live out your dreams and what you should do in that circumstance. This movie really nails that dilemma and what's right and what's wrong about taking both of those paths. How it's wrong to deny yourself that kind of excellence, that kind of uh, self-realization, and how it's also wrong to just leave your family to wither away, or to just become excommunicated. And this is nothing to say of anybody's personal circumstance of how they would deal with their family or how they would want to set out and achieve their dreams. But I feel that it just had a very um, holistic view, a very uh, well-rounded idea of how to take that on, and I feel like that was done really, really well. And uh, it's not touched on in that way so much. In Coco, we follow little Miguel Rivera, and he's a shop cleaner in his family's shoe business, and they're they're from a long line of shoemakers, and uh, this is something that came from Miguel's great great grandmother. She was left by her musician husband when she was when she had just had Miguel's great grandmother Coco, and she was left to raise Coco and figure out what she was going to do for her family. And for that, she banned music from the family and made a way through making shoes. And she was very good at making shoes, and the company was profitable. And they they continued all the way up until Miguel is working in the shop. Now Miguel is he's dreaming of playing guitar, and he loves his favorite guitar player, favorite musician, Ernesto de la Cruz. Um, in the beginning of the movie, you can see Miguel talking to a musician about playing, and the musician gives him a chance, and right there on the spot, uh, Miguel's grandmother comes out of nowhere and spots him right before he gets to play a lick. Um, so that's exactly what he's up against. You know, his grandmother throwing shoes at the guitarist, making sure the mariachi player doesn't come around anymore. Um, despite this, Miguel is not deterred. Miguel has a shrine in the attic where he plays guitar and watches Ernesto de la Cruz movies and listens to the music. And it's his sanctuary. This all comes to a head on the Day of the Dead, and a festival that's happening close to where Miguel lives next to. Um, Miguel decides to seize your moment, as his hero Ernesto de la Cruz would always say, uh, and try and get in, but ends up having a falling out with his family and his grandmother, who breaks his guitar. He goes to the festival, is not able to play because he no longer has a guitar, which leads him to the grave of Ernesto de la Cruz. When Miguel is caught grave robbing, he's super scared and he's running around, and but he figures out that the police and the people who rushed in to try and save the stuff from Ernesto de la Cruz's grave can't see him and go right through him. Uh, he's become a guest of the dead somehow, where only where the dead can only see him, and this dog that he's been playing with the whole movie. So Miguel ends up running into dead relatives of his, and they see that this is a problem and try and get it corrected. His they bring him to his great great grandmother, the lady who for was left by Ernesto de la Cruz to go and pursue his musical career, causing her to curse music in her family. So naturally, when uh, she has the ability to control the fate of what happens to Miguel, she decides that uh, in order to turn him back, uh, to restore him, uh, that she's going to make sure that he doesn't play music anymore, in keeping with all her her previous stance before. And in turn, Miguel would go back to the living and being living, and uh, restore her picture and let her join her family. Well, Miguel did not obey this and decides to try and get Ernesto de la Cruz to bless him and restore him back to the land of the living. And that's where most of the movie's hijinks occur. It's Miguel hooks up with this dead guy named Hector, and starts trying to figure out a way to get to Ernesto de la Cruz. And on this way, he figures out that these dead people who are forgotten are truly erased. They don't live in the land of the dead anymore. The people who can't cross to visit their loved ones that are living uh, are erased from uh, the place where the dead get to live. He figures that out. He figures out that Hector used to be a musician and actually played with Ernesto de la Cruz, and uh, finds out that there's more to this Hector guy than um, just being a lying, scheming, uh, selfish man. Um, as it turns out, when they get to Ernesto de la Cruz, it turns out that he had stolen uh, songs that were written by Hector, and then murdered Hector. Um, Ernesto tries to keep the illusion that he's a great musician, great songwriter by doing away with Hector and Miguel, who figure out a way to foil him and return Miguel to the land of the living. Miguel was a very strong character. He was well built, and there was growth within him, learning about how important it is to have family and to have good intuition about family. He doesn't have good intuition about family, but the learning experience, the growth is good to see within him. By far, the biggest growth you get in this movie is Hector, and where he goes from this scheming, selfish, seeming person to this selfless person that cares very much for his daughter Coco, and does all he can to uh, make things right by her. There's also there's good growth with uh, Mama Amilda, his Miguel's great grandmother, uh, and Miguel's actual grandmother. I don't remember her name, but they all uh, show the importance of what family is, which is not just taking into account what you want, but also being flexible and being able to love somebody in a different way. And that's what's really special about this movie. Anyways, guys, that's my thoughts on Coco. It was a very well done Pixar movie. It was everything you expected and more. I give it 9 shells out of 10. And like, subscribe. It's Turtle Limicast.